Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm talking all things vegan, vegetarian and plant-based. Myself, I am a meat eater and I love meat, but after talking with Steph, I realised that I was eating a lot of meat and maybe to put some plant-based meals into my diet was not so bad. As you know, 2 years ago I had really bad acne and last year it was super bad and I had no idea what to do. I actually went through last year's lockdown trying out different foods, eliminating foods from my diet to see if it affected my skin. There was a lot of talk on the internet about gut and how different foods are good for your gut and how you need to put good bacteria into your gut for it to come out into your skin. So I eliminated meat for a month, I eliminated dairy, I eliminated gluten and I eliminated refined sugars, so desserts, ice cream, all the stuff that's processed. For me, the only thing that worked, and it wasn't a major difference, refined sugars, it cleared up my skin a lot. I still had the pimples coming out, but it wasn't as angry. And gluten, I felt less heavy and less tired. Still now, I don't have any gluten. I always have gluten-free pasta, gluten-free bread, whenever I can. And also, I cut down a lot on the desserts I was having. I come from a very chocoholic family and we had dessert every night and it was normal and it got for me like a craving. And I stopped desserts for 4 days. The first 4 days were a nightmare. The cravings were insane, but I would always like brush my teeth after a meal or have a piece of fruit. And now it's okay, I can have a dessert and I don't crave it for 5 days after. So I really cut down on that. And then when it got so bad, my acne, I decided to try kefir. I think it's called kefir, I don't know. One of those things, and it's fermented goat's milk. So I did a lot of research because I was in freak out mode because of my acne. I didn't know what to do to calm it down or help it or make it go away totally. And I was told that your acne is connected to your gut and the good and bad bacteria in there. So I decided to start fermented goat's milk, but for me, it made my skin much worse. It made it more itchy, more red, and I couldn't understand why, because on the internet they all say it's such an amazing product and it's really good for your gut and it puts the good bacteria in and whatever you put into your gut comes through your skin. I then decided, okay, so I'm trying all these things, nothing's really working, and then I decided to do a intolerance test to food. So not an allergy test, just to see what is not really working for me but I'm not allergic to it. And it came back and the most highest point of the intolerance that I am is kefir. So I was more or less having a reaction to drinking the kefir and it coming out worse through my skin. I'm also allergic to, well, not allergic, I'm also intolerant to gluten, to apples, to beef. I think pesto is on there, pine nuts are on there, all these random things. But then they say if you cut it out for a while and then slowly bring it back into your diet, then your body changes with time. But I'm still gluten-free and cut down on the refined sugars a lot. So this all had me thinking about food and how it is connected to our bodies and our gut and how it comes out in our skin. And I started with a personal trainer in my hometown last year, and he is actually vegan and his wife is vegan too. So I got talking to him and I always thought, oh, being a vegan, and you know, I always used to meet those people who are vegan and like push it onto me, and it used to make me mad, and I'm like, listen, I'm a meat eater, I'm all good with that, I have veg in my diet, I'm happy where I am. But then I got thinking even more and I thought, you know, it would be good to understand their point of view and why they stopped meat and what became that decision and how they feel now, and even their children are vegans and they brought their children up like that way. So Steph and Alan are from Nottinghamshire and they started their own business called Fighting Fit Kitchen. It's everything vegan and also personal training. So Alan, her husband, is a personal trainer and Steph does all the cooking side of things. And they produce 3 meals a day and they put it in boxes and they give it to their customers. So they have their vegan meals, and then 3 times a week they will also train with Alan. At the moment it's on Zoom because of the pandemic, but usually they will come to Alan's house and he has a massive garden and they'll train there. Also, if you go to their Instagram, you'll see the results of the Fighting Fit Kitchen program. people post how their bodies have changed just in 1 week, 2 weeks. It's kind of insane. You see a difference in the body eating vegan and also training, how quickly the customers were losing the weight and how quickly the bodies were getting trimmed up. I found it really interesting that diet is a big part of your body. It's not exercise really, it's what you're putting into your body. And that made me also want to get to know more about how Alan and Steph became vegan and what made them do it, and just to ask many different questions of, on my side of being a meat eater, wanting to understand more. So I learned a lot of facts, and even from talking to Steph, yesterday I decided to go meatless, and I actually had impossible meat. And I was shocked at how good it was. It tasted like meat. I always pushed that idea away of being plant-based and vegan. I don't think I will ever be vegan, but I will definitely start eliminating meat out of my diet more and bring fish in, and even just vegetarian meals. Just so I'm cutting down on how much meat I am intaking, because usually I eat meat twice a day. I learned a lot of new things and a lot of good facts from a meat eater's point of view, and things that changed in my mind and what I will and won't do. Still a dairy eater, I love eggs, I love butter, I love all that stuff, but the meat thing I will try and cut down on. So I hope you enjoy, and here is my Zoom call on all things vegan and plant-based with Steph at Fighting Fit Kitchen. Hey, how are you?
Hi, yeah, really good. You?
I'm good, yes. So I've got some questions for you. So for everyone at home, this is Steph, and she's a vegan, plant-based. And I think you're the only friend who I know who is plant-based. So we've got a lot of things to learn from you. I'm a big meat eater, and I eat probably meat like 3-4 times a week. And Steph's not happy about that, so she's going to explain to us why we should be plant-based and vegan and why she did it. So
I'm ready.
Why did you go down the route of being plant-based, and what made you make the change?
So for us, initially it was kind of friends around us that went plant-based themselves or vegan, and they had illnesses prior to going plant-based, and then when they went plant-based, they kind of had the illnesses under control. And I'm not going to say like they got rid of them, but they just had them under control. So they felt better. Their mood was lifted. They had more energy. So we've both kind of always been health conscious. So we kind of thought, well, it's worth having a look at. So that's kind of how it started, to be honest, because we were both huge meat eaters before that.
How long have you been plant-based for?
So I've been plant-based for 6 years now.
Oh wow, okay. And Sophie's plant-based too, right?
Yeah, she wasn't born plant-based.
I know what you mean.
She was a meat and dairy eater like we were for the first year of her life.
Okay.
And then it was after she was a year old that we decided to be plant-based, and we did decide for her to follow on the journey with us. And we didn't feel like she'd miss out on anything, and she certainly doesn't now, and she'd quite happily say herself as well that she doesn't.
So did you find the change difficult or straightforward? And also, what advice would you give to somebody wanting to make changes to their diet?
So I really like this question, because when people ask us it, I think they're quite surprised for us to say, oh yeah, it was a breeze, it was really, really easy. Yeah. But it was tough for us. And that's mainly because at the time we weren't really that knowledgeable about what we were doing, and all we did was kind of remove the meat from our meal, which didn't really leave us with a lot, because we were huge meat eaters. Meats were like the predominant factor of our dish or what we were eating. Yeah. Take that away and you weren't left with very much. Well, yeah. So we were like tired, we felt crap, we had no energy, and we were like, what the hell? Everyone's saying that they feel really good, all our friends are feeling amazing, and we feel like crap. How is this even like working?
How long did that last for, like feeling like crap?
We probably persevered with it for about a week and a half. Okay. I want to say, and then we were like, right, we really need to have a look at what we're doing here if we want to make this work. Yeah. And the simple thing that we were doing was we were not putting enough calories in, because if you think about like your vegetables and your grains and your pulses and things, they're very low calorie. So we needed more on our plates. That's the benefit. If you like your food, you do get to eat quite a lot more.
So how much more veg and stuff do you eat? So you like more or less just have a big plate full of veg now? That's what?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
And that sounds like a bit boring and bland, but there's a lot more that goes into it, like a lot of sauces. It's all about the sauces and the dressings that you put on to make it exciting. I've never used so many herbs and spices in my life.
Yeah.
But
So
I've tasted a lot of flavors that I haven't
yeah.
before.
Do you want to tell people what you do? Because you've not really said anything about your business, and I know you've got a whole business going on.
Yeah, we run a vegan plant-based meal prep company from home. And that's kind of when we started on the journey and we started making all these exciting dishes and posting them on social media. A lot of people were like, wow, we would love to try that. That looks so good. And we put it off for the longest time because we actually thought that it was going to be really difficult to launch a meal prep business. But it turned out that it actually wasn't that hard. We started it and people started buying our dishes, and we are the healthiest meal prep business we know of in the local, well, not even just the local area that we know of, full stop, really.
Yeah, because you also do personal training as well, aside of the healthy dieting area, don't you?
We do, yeah.
A team. You're the cooking
Yeah.
side, and Alan, who is your husband, is the PT fitness side.
Yeah, he does. So he's really passionate about PT, and I'm probably really biased, but I think he is really good at what he does. If you like to be motivated, and he doesn't take no prisoners. He really, works hard with people. And I'm kind of in the nutritionist side and the foodie, and then he matches it with the exercise, and you've got a really good combination there.
Okay, do you think that everyone would benefit from being plant-based?
Yes, I do. So has anyone ever been ill from eating too much fruit and veg? No.
Yeah.
So fruit and veg is never going to do you any harm. So I always think, even if you're looking at this and thinking, oh my God, I would never ever give up meat, even if you just incorporated more plants, more vegetables, more fruit into your diet, you are not going to do yourself any harm. You're going to do yourself a heck of a lot more good. There's a few people that I definitely point you in the direction of, one of which is Dr. Gregor. He's an absolutely brilliant guy to follow on Instagram. And he also has a fantastic website with research that he does on the effects of plant-based eating. And also in terms of like the environment, and this has been a massive push at the moment, the effects of eating large quantities of meat on the planet, even reducing it for that reason. And if you haven't watched already, David Attenborough's A Life on Our Planet on Netflix is a fantastic thing to watch for you to realise the impact of eating
So
meat.
you're talking about meat, but what about fish and that kind of thing, and seafood and
Yeah, to be honest, if you have a look into that as well, it's a similar kind of thing where we're over farming, and our oceans, I think David Attenborough might hit on this as well. There will come a time where we are over farming, and we're going to be, there's not going to be enough balance within the animal kingdom. And it's going to push things out of limbo, and not to a very good result either.
I have one question. It's not on the questions that I sent you, but I'm just wondering. So you know how people say, like a lot of people stop like refined sugar or sugars altogether because of the skin and like acne, but isn't sugar in fruit, a lot of fruit and that kind of thing? So then what do you do there?
Yeah, this is a good question. So they're completely different, two different types of sugar. So you've got in your sweets and your chocolate, this is your refined sugar. So this is really concentrated, granulated sugar. And that comes from sugar beet, and sugar beet is completely natural. However, when you eat a sugar beet, it doesn't taste like granulated sugar. So sugar is really concentrated down. And it's quite harmful to the body because your body can't really work with that kind of concentrated amount. And that's why it can be quite damaging. Fructose sugar, though, is a natural sugar source. So your body can break that down quite well. It's actually quite good for the body. It's more beneficial than your granulated, which, is not so good.
So what positivities have you had from eating this way?
Yeah, so actually a lot. Reduced shopping bill being one. Leaner. Don't feel bloated. I've suffered with bloating and poor digestion for my whole life. I used to suffer really badly with IBS as well. and used to take Buscapans like all the time,
Yeah.
like sweets. So I've completely come off of them. Better digestion. On an afternoon, I would always get what people associate as mid-afternoon slump. I'd have my lunch and I would sit on the sofa and I could go to sleep. And that would be a daily occurrence. But I thought that was normal until going plant-based, and it's gone. And that comes down to like the digestion, because your body finds it really hard to digest meat. Actually very slow transit. So your body has to use up a lot of energy. So that energy is getting taken away from you to digest the meat.
And I'm surprised about you saying it was cheaper to eat plant-based, because I don't know, I always think it's so expensive to buy good, healthy, organic food, you know, in the supermarket.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I don't know from what I know, but I feel like growing up, especially in our hometown, that people always go for the cheapest option of things. So I think people would be nervous to buy, if you're saying that it's cheaper, but I don't know.
So yeah, there's different ways of like looking at it. If you're looking at like going down a processed route of veganism, then it is going to be expensive, because you'll be looking at things like your mock meats, for example, which at the moment are not cheap. And that's because of supply and demand. It's not quite there yet.
It's just fake meat.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So your fake meat, quite expensive. Whereas if you just focus on a diet that's predominantly just fruit and veg, it's going to be a lot cheaper.
Okay, so also, it's another question I've got for you about, because you brought up the fake meat now. So if you're going to be a vegan and plant-based anyway, why would you just want to eat fake meat? I don't get it. Why don't you just eat real meat?
You know, I thought exactly the same thing. I used to, because my brother decided to be vegetarian when we were teenagers, and I was like, I used to mock him all the time. I was like, why would you eat the fake stuff? Like, why would you want that? But I kind of understand it now, because me and Alan didn't wake up one day and just hate meat. We loved the taste of meat, and if you gave it to us now, we would still love the taste of meat. Do you think it's a brilliant stepping stone for people who understand that they need to reduce their meat intake, but really miss that satisfying taste or texture of meat? They can still have it.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. Okay, so because we were more or less, from what we know, we were brought up eating meat, like, you know, we hunted meat, we ate it. So don't you think it's kind of normal for our bodies to want and eat meat? Like, we were brought up eating meat.
Yeah, we are brought up eating meat. A lot of up-to-date studies, though, have found that our ancestors, so our caveman ancestors, actually didn't eat a lot of meat. It was actually quite rare for them to eat meat, because it was quite hard for them to hunt and gather. Like, we're not like lions. So they foraged and ate a lot of berries and natural things that came from the grounds, roots and stuff, and had a lot of a healthier diet. But if you look at our internal structure inside our bodies and compare it to, like, say, a lion, for example, that should eat meat, we have completely different digestive systems. And the main reason for that is meat is poisonous to any animal. So when you consume it, it needs to come out as fast as possible, or as quickly as possible. So a lion's digestive system is really, really short. So it's perfect for eating meat, because it won't stay in the body for very long. And don't quote me on how long, but it's only like maybe hours we're talking that it's staying in the body. Whereas when we eat meat, it stays a lot longer. Our intestines are 15 feet long. So that piece of meat is festering and fermenting in the body for a long period of time before we actually excrete it.
Because you don't have to kill animals to eat dairy and eggs. So why do you not eat those things? And why do a lot of people who are plant-based don't eat dairy and eggs? Because it's not like you have to kill anything to eat it.
Yeah. And this probably was like the hardest thing for me to give up, because I was massive on cheese, and one of my favorite things to eat is pizza. And like the predominant thing on pizza is cheese. But when you look into kind of like dairy and how we get dairy, I didn't actually put the reality together, and it was so obvious. It's so obvious to me now, but it wasn't at the time. But if you think about any female in the world, any animal or whatever, how do we promote milk, or how do we promote for milk to happen?
Come out of our boobies.
Yeah. But it's not always just there. It's like
like that.
So we have to get pregnant, and cows are or any animal is exactly the same. So a cow, when I was little and growing up, even like in my 20s, I thought like female cows were just like, yeah, just ready to be milked, and the milk's there. But I
thought that was it. That's not true. You just don't milk them.
No, yeah, totally. I know. Until I went vegan, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
anytime when you want, you just get milk.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas
so then
it's
the
not
got like loads of hormones in it, so you're putting essentially hormones into your body.
And also, when you're pregnant, you have to produce offspring. So these cows are obviously having a baby, but we don't want the baby to have the milk because we want the milk. So the babies then obviously are having to get taken away from the mother for the mother to be able to be milked, for it to go to be sold. So that really didn't sit right with me after having children as well, to imagine to give birth to my child and then for it to be taken away so that my milk could be
used elsewhere. Yeah.
After that, dairy really wasn't an issue for me to give up.
I don't know what I would do, because I eat literally eggs every morning. Like every morning I go between scrambled and poached. So
eggs are so I miss eggs, I have to say.
So what do you think is the difference that one person could make by not eating meat? Because I know people are like, oh, it doesn't really matter, I can eat meat, like this person's not doing it. So, is there any difference, like, for one person not eating meat for the day?
Definitely. And I have got some facts. And if you want to know more, it's on the Vegan Calculator online, which is a fantastic website, which kind of just makes you feel more accountable, because especially like when you're making these changes, it's tough because you're changing your whole lifestyle, something that you're used to doing that's really comfortable and normal for you, and you're changing it all. And sometimes doing stuff like this really helps remind you. But if you were just vegan for one day, you would say, well, 1,100 gallons of water, 40 pounds of grain, 30 square foot of forest, 20 pounds of CO2, and an animal's life.
Wow.
So yeah, it's quite and that's just one day. So if you think about like a week, a month, it's quite amazing the impact that you can have just as one person.
Okay, so what is the difference between a vegan, a vegetarian, and a plant-based diet?
So vegetarian, really simple. Basically, they just decide to not eat meats, but they still consume dairy. So we spoke obviously about the dairy thing, the impacts and stuff there. So they just no meat. Vegan is more of a lifestyle. So it's not just diet. So their diet, for example, will be no meat, no dairy, but nothing that contains any animal products. So you have to be checking things like wines or alcohols, things that you probably wouldn't think to look at to make sure they've got no animal products. But they also don't wear things from animals, or, for example, products, testing on animals. So they wouldn't wear leather. Plant-based can contain the factors of like wearing and stuff, and we do choose that. You don't have to. It can just be diet related, but it's a diet consisting of plant-based food, so natural things, so fruit, veg, grains, pulses, and beans. So it's a very basic diet.
So you were talking about alcohol. You drink alcohol, but Alan doesn't drink alcohol, right?
Yeah.
And do you have to drink certain types of alcohol because you're vegan, or do you check that out?
Yeah, you've got to kind of know, basically know which ones are vegan and not. And you can kind of find this out on the internet. There's apps that you can scan stuff and it'll tell you if it's vegan, or search it beforehand. But not all alcohols are vegan. Spirits are pretty much all vegan. Wines aren't. Not all lagers and ales are. And I think that's to do with like fish guts or something.
Oh, ew, that sounds disgusting.
Yeah, not so nice. So yeah, even for that, you might decide to have the vegan option.
Okay, I thought one more question. Promise it's the last one. So for anybody who wants to go from a big meat eater to wanting to try and change the lifestyle, would you recommend them starting trying to be a vegetarian first and trying to cut out meat and then work their way up?
Yeah, definitely. So my biggest recommendation would be do it at your own pace. Do one thing at a time. And just work with yourself. You might decide that I just want to limit my meat, but I still want to consume dairy, and that's quite enough for you. And I just think as long as you're doing your bit and it's a little change, these amount to bigger changes all round. So yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Say hello to the family for me. And I'll also insert your Instagram so people can look you up and have a look what you're all about in their own pace and time too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. I know that I learned a lot of things when I spoke to her, and even in my mind subconsciously I changed a few things. I cut down on meat, as I said. I'm only trying to eat meat 3 or 4 times a week, like before I was 7 days a week, twice a day. And just putting more plant-based food into my diet. I learned a lot of things from that talk as well. Like, I never knew there were fish guts in certain beers. That kind of made me like, ooh. So let me know what you learned, and if you learned anything new, or if you are a vegan or plant-based or vegetarian, and if that made a difference to your body or how it made your skin, or if any positives came out of being plant-based, vegan or vegetarian. I would love to know. So comment, like and subscribe, and I will see you next Friday.